Hey and welcome, I'm Solo and this is ZN Gaming. In this video, I'll be going over if you need one PC or two PCs for streaming in 2025. Before I waste any more time, let's jump into it. This is just going to be another talking video. I'll be going over some of the pros and cons of a one PC and a two PC setup. Before we really get started, I wanted to say most people will say you only need one PC because the GPUs are so good, but let's just check into that and let's find out the real answer instead of that of what other people say. So let's see what we find. First of all, what I found was each GPU is going to change the results a lot. From my first look, the 3080 Ti, not the 3080, the 3080 Ti version and the 3090, they held their FPS in games like Call of Duty and Apex, and there was a few other games. If you do want other games in this here testing list, definitely leave it in the comments below of the game that you would like to see. But these games held 300 FPS when not streaming and still had no issues with OBS on streaming and recording. So the 3080 Ti, not the 3080 regular, the 3080 Ti and the 3090 had absolutely no issues at all turning the game 300 FPS. That's what I have right now. I have no problem at all. 300 FPS. This is the range. This is 2K, not 1920 by 1080. At 1920 by 1080 holding 300 FPS while streaming and recording with a 3080 Ti is going to be easy. You will not need a second PC. So that's something to keep in mind as well. The 3080 though lost 20% of its performance opening OBS and running it to stream. So my regular 3080, not the Ti variant, is actually losing 20% of its performance. So now I know that if you have a GPU better than a 3080 Ti, you don't need two PC setup. But what about the rest of us? What about everyone else with a 3060? Not even a Ti model. Not a 3060 Ti, but a 3060 or a 3070. Or even the 3080 non-Ti version. Like this version, the 3080, the non-Ti variants are actually killing your frames per second. The 20 frames plus just for having your OBS open on the other screen at 1920 by 1080 settings. So the 3060 Ti will hardly hold 160 frames per second in Apex while streaming, and it will actually give you about 200 when not streaming. So that's a huge gain. So at this here point, I'm starting to ask myself, 165 frames to 200 frames. Do you upgrade your GPU or actually just at this here point purchase a $500 streaming PC? If you haven't actually seen my last streaming PC, I did a streaming PC on a budget, and you won't believe what you can get for about $300, $400, $500 Canadian, not USD, that's Canadian for a streaming PC. So at this here point, if you already have a 3060 and you're like wondering if you should upgrade to a 4070 or get a second PC, I think the 4070 Ti is going to be on par with the 3080 and the 3080 Ti, where you're going to be able to max out your frames per second. But when you open OBS, if you're doing 2K or 4K, you are going to see a dip in your frames per second. The 3060, 4060, and even the newer 5060, if one comes out for the Ti variant, you may still see issues with your frames per second dipping when you open OBS. So this is going to be a big hamper. If you're competitively playing, this is going to matter to you a lot. Now, if your frames don't dip any at all, like if you have a 3080 Ti or a 4070 Ti or better, or the new 5080, 5070, they should definitely be good enough. But at what price? At what cost? You're going to be $700, almost $1,000 on upgrading just to get yourself at a stable 200 to 300 FPS on 4K. But if you're only going to upgrade from a 3060 to, let's say, a 5060 when it comes out, or a 4060, I actually think for the $400 to $700 you'd be getting a lot better quality from two PCs. This will allow you to record at full quality and stream at the same time, plus giving you a bunch of extra options. So there is a point, if you have a 3060 and you're trying to figure out what your next upgrade is going to be, are you going to pick a $700 video card, or are you going to pick a second PC? Now, if you're going with a 4070, I definitely suggest going with the GPU. You are going to gain a single PC setup that is going to be capable. You're not going to be dropping too many FPS, but if your FPS actually, if you need every drop of it, a second PC is still going to be for you if you are running a 3060 or a 4060, even the 4060 Ti. If you're running something like that, a second PC is going to give you a lot more frames per second. It's going to give you a big gain, but a new GPU for $700 might be just too far of your budget. And for $350, $400, you could have a whole entire streaming PC. So this is when you need to figure out what is it that you need? What do you want to accomplish? So if you're in the same position as me, I have a 3080 Ti, and I actually found having the second PC gave me much better quality and much better results. A few things that I couldn't quite do the same, like turning my encoder all the way to max settings because I have a whole dedicated GPU just for encoding my stream, makes a big difference. Even though it's a cheap GPU, it's not affecting my FPS in-game, and it's not affecting my OBS or my stream any at all. So all that being handled by another PC allows me to not have to worry about upgrading my GPU for like another couple of years. My 3080 Ti is going to last me until I'm not getting the max frames per second in the game. And for Apex, it maxes out at 300. You're going to be a 3080 Ti, you're going to be future-proof for quite a while. And if you're going to get a 4080 or a 5080 series card, you will not need a second PC. But again, like I said, if you're spending half the amount, if your budget's low on your gaming PC and you're getting like a 4060 or 5060 even when they come out, the second PC might be an option that's better for you because it offers a few other things. When you're not streaming, your spouse or loved one, a friend can come over and play, so you have that second PC. You don't have to worry about when your PC crashes because you have two PCs. One will still be running. Your stream won't go down when your game crashes or something like that. You're not going to have to worry about. There's a few things that it does help with, that it helps just smooth out the load, but it does add a lot of complications to it too. So if you're not really willing to learn and you want a simple setup, definitely keep it to a one PC setup. Once you start getting into the realm of advanced OBS settings and you want to play a bunch of stuff, you are going to. It doesn't matter what you're running. Even my 3080 Ti right now, and I have a 3090 in my streaming PC because of the things I'm doing in OBS. Now, if I want to do 200 different things in OBS and it's going to be running my CPU at 50, 60, 70%, if you're trying to run that on the same PC as you're gaming on, you're going to have issues no matter what. So then again, you'll come into that, do you need a second PC? Yes and no. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. That is going to be something that is a personal preference, but there is a lot of times when you want to do a whole bunch of extra stuff in your game and you want to do a whole bunch of extra stuff on OBS. There's a point where no matter how good your GPU is, for what we have to today, anything within the budget price of $700 or under is going to struggle running both, depending on what you have in OBS. So if you're maxing out your OBS, the option is definitely always going to be a second PC is going to make it so that it doesn't affect your game experience. So like I said, if you're playing competitively, you're chasing FPS, you need all the frames per second, or if you're having stuttering while streaming, a second PC may fix all those issues. But again, the new GPUs coming out, if you're going to get into the 50 series, if you're on 30 series and jump into the 50 series, you probably would be better off just getting a second PC, because getting a new gen card is going to actually be pretty hard unless the price goes super down or the availability goes up. I think the second PC in the market we're in right now is actually going to be a better option for most people. But it does, again, add a lot of complexity. And like I said, this is just a talking head video. We're just going to go over it so that you can make this informed decision for yourself. What do you need? What do you want? Is it something that fits your budget? How cheap can you get a streaming PC? If you don't really know those answers, I do have a video covering like how cheap you can get a streaming PC if you were going to go that route. But do keep in mind, it's $500 still. So $400, $500 with a monitor and keyboard to have your second PC set up. You're going to need the cord. You're going to need the capture card. Those things, they do add up. But where is that point for you where it would have been just worth the same amount of money to you just to have a much more simpler setup and just have a better GPU? You got to remember, if you buy a $700, $800 GPU, you can recoup some of the cost by selling your old hardware as well. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Or if you're upgrading, keeping your old stuffs, makes it a lot easier to get an old computer and slap your GPU in it, have a really good machine. And I definitely think it's still worth your time in 2025 to have a second PC for streaming, even if you have a 3090 equivalent and you're running a 7900X 24-core processor, or like just anything, even if it's all at the top of the gen. I'm still finding places where I stuttered when I had OBS all installed onto one rig. So the thing about it is the things that you're running in OBS use a lot of CPU and not necessarily always your GPU. And what I was running into is just a little bit of stutters here and there because it's doing so much in OBS. So if I have 5 or 6 alerts go off at one time, like my whole computer stuttered for a minute. Now that I have a 2 PC setup, when my streaming PC stutters, I don't feel that in my game, so it doesn't affect me, and I don't see it on stream. so then nobody even notices it at all, and my computer can go through a little bit of a hiccup and nobody even notices. But if they can see your screen and it's all on one PC, they'll see that stutter because your game will stutter. And that's really all I had to say about the subject. I don't really have any more to go over to it. It's just a talking head video. I wanted to kind of wonder what everyone else's opinion on it is in 2025. So if you have a 2 PC setup or if you have a 1 PC setup, let me know. Do you think this is still worth your time? Is this something that you want? And do you see a benefit still for you in 2025 of having 2 PCs? Or are you in the same position, you're just trying to cut things down, make it easier, and very sure that 1 PC is all you need in 2025? Let me know down below in the comments. But that's it for this one here. If you think I forgot or left something out, definitely leave it in the comments below. And if you like or found this video helpful, hit the thumbs up and get subscribed for more content. Thanks for watching. Bye!